Hello, it is currently 10 a.m. 10:45 a.m. I've basically just been working on this paper. I'm so glitchy. I feel like Teams has been really annoying recently. Okay, I've basically just been working on this paper this morning a bit. I just got inspired and I started to crunch things down and move things around and say things in my own words. So I'm gonna show that and then I'm gonna talk about something on my mind. Okay, so here's this so far. I'm gonna change up some of the words, computational model, that. But basically what I've just been doing today, this was 14 pages before, now it's 9, is I've just been taking some of the information that I read. I haven't done the amygdala section yet at all, but just crunching it down. So for example, this acetylcholine section was a bunch of random quotes. I just crunched it to explain sort of what's going on. I didn't crunch this. And then I moved certain things around. So I moved the CA3 and CA1 pieces down here and started moving some things here that are going to be sort of next on the list. It's really coming along, actually. I wanted to talk about something. I was like, I don't know. I've been really reflecting on feminism and womanhood and everything a lot doing this project because it has been a reflection of my survival story of surviving rape and navigating the trauma that came from that, and then I guess transmuting it into something beautiful, something useful for my life, something that has meaning. And um it's been kind of hard because I mean, obviously there's been a lot of emotions sometimes coming up because of this project, like just anger. A lot of times it's anger because also really went into the science project because I was tackling a sort of misogynistic gap in the science of trauma and in the science of dissociation and everything. And sometimes I really love neuroscience and I'm just enjoying doing the science too, but also sometimes I sit with like why I'm here and I get frustrated and I get angry and irritated, and it's just been kind of it's been a journey really working on this as a survivor. It's been kind of an interesting time, I would say, for feminism in general. The internet, I don't know, the internet is such a dark place. The internet is really quite a dark place. And I think it's very easy for ideas to sort of get skewed. I was reflecting on this because I was watching a video this morning of somebody of a woman who was maybe in her 30s now, mom, everything, and she was saying how she hasn't really liked modern feminist. She considers herself a feminist, but she hasn't really liked modern feminism a lot because it's been about hating men and stuff, and more about manipulating men and hating men and stuff, and that's not what she's about, and etc. And I'm not about that either. I love men. Do I still have a really difficult relationship to certain elements of the patriarchy and the way that men collectively act sometimes? Yeah, I do. Then again, I have people in my life, men in my life, who are very kind, who are aware, who are navigating that place in a system with a lot of intentionality. And I don't hate men. And I also know that the patriarchy hurts men too. I wish they would see it as such and recognize that sometimes. But I feel like I see a lot of people stepping away from being feminists recently, or stepping away from, some people have really become more grounded in the feminism because it's been an awful time, at least in my home country in the United States, to be a woman. I mean, our rights are getting rolled back significantly. We're living through one of the most conservative times in ever, honestly, in the country. Maybe not ever, but it's been sort of a rollback, and the rights of women have been just getting stripped down and things. And at the same time, I think there's this really popular culture of being a bit more on the conservative side as a woman. I want to protect her, I want to provide her, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, which I do not misquote me. I think people who find purpose in being a stay-at-home mom as well, that is beautiful as well, and I don't condone that. I think it's beautiful to have that extra time with your kids. And in fact, I'm working extra hard right now in my early 20s because when I have my own kids, I want to have that extra time with them. I don't want to be a necessarily a stay-at-home mom, maybe work from home, have more time with my kids, right? That's why I'm working hard right now because I want a career, and I also I I acknowledge that it's nice when you're, to spend time with your children. You're often mothers are, children lean on their moms a lot and stuff. I don't think it's bad to be a stay-at-home mom and stuff, but I think that there's this just general lean towards in media and TikTok and everything, that just like a trend, I would say a trend towards being a bit more on the conservative side as a woman, or big modesty stuff. The hard thing about all these dynamics is that it's really really hard to win within the patriarchy. For example, I don't think that teaching women to constantly be sexualizing themselves is a win for feminism. I don't think hookup culture is a win for feminism. I think everybody should do what they authentically desire. Then again, I don't think that, for example, I think that it's a little bit of a trick or a catch to think that, for example, oh, we should be expected to go out and to appeal to the male gaze, and to let men have as many hookups as they want, let men sexualize us as much as they want. But I support, I don't, that doesn't mean that I don't support people, women, like centering their pleasure, going out and engaging in situations that are pleasurable to them, intentional and thoughtful, centering them, right? Okay, so these are the little dynamics that I think, obviously, it's really hard. It's just, I think feminism is always moving and changing, because it's really hard to navigate the world as a woman, and to navigate the kind of gaze that we're sort of always under, and these systems of harm that really exist everywhere. It's I think the goal is always to center our authentic voice, connect to our own authentic desires, our authentic voice, and that we should always be embracing that, and etc. And that's what I do as a feminist. I don't, I would say I live a life that's really centered around me, what I'm interested in. I don't feel like I need to go out and be strongly in hookup culture. I also don't feel like I need to be modest all the time. I like to dress up cute and go out and stuff, and just do what I like, not center men's opinions, right? That being said, I think that sometimes I've spoken about my journey on this YouTube channel, like this series that I've made about this project, because this project is a deeply feminist project that I'm working on, and it's been a bit like annoying. Sometimes I think people really respond to the story. It is men respond in the comments of my story. I had somebody who was consistently sending kind of these sort of passive aggressive hateful comments. I had men say really sort of rude and weird things, and sort of talk engaging with me like I'm unhappy and I'm angry, and all these different things, because I'm just sharing my story, and I'm sharing how that story translated into science, and how important the science is and stuff like that. That's why I'm sharing this. And first of all, it's really frustrating. The angry feminist archetype, first of all, I said in another video, I'm angry that all of this is happening to women, and I'm a feminist. So if people want to call me an angry feminist, so be it. Sure, I am. Okay. I don't think that that's a bad thing. I'm not going to be hurt by the label. Then again, it gets frustrating sometimes, because I'm not an angry person, and I think there's a privilege I had to reflect on this today, that I think there's a bit of a privilege in stepping away from feminism, when I was telling myself this, because I'm like, you're literally a survivor of rape, and if you feel angry towards the patriarchy, so fair. If you feel angry at men, sometimes honestly valid, because you're navigating, like, probably one of the most difficult, like, I mean, obviously I'm still like privileged from being in like the US, right? But I'm like, navigating sexual violence is one of the most intense manifestations of misogyny and of the patriarchy at work. Also, I then went through a trial where I tried to basically try this person, this individual, and it didn't really go that well, and that felt the because of and there was a lot of sort of, I think, underlying misogyny to the experience that I had in that setting too, and that was really painful. And all these different ways, I'm like, you don't. I think that a lot of times when you're just like, when you haven't navigated, and obviously all women have dealt to a certain degree with that kind of, we've all been catcalled, unfortunately, and most of us have been sexually. I think 1 in 4 women have been sexually assaulted or raped by the time they're like, I don't even remember, 25 or something. So it's awful. A lot of us face it. I don't think that any of us would deny, unless we're really, really deeply entrenched in a sort of manipulative narrative, right? But At the same time, I'm like, I think I have to, I was like, it's not, I think it's a privilege to be able to step away from feminism like that. There's no way for me to step away from feminism because in anything that I would do to fight for myself, defend myself, like I have to be a feminist. That's just my life. And sometimes I just feel frustrated by like the I just think that there's this stepping away from that idea or oh, I don't want to be a feminist, all this stuff. It's like, well, unfortunately my life has made it so I was already a feminist, but it's a privilege a bit to step away from feminism when so many well, like, particularly for example, I think of so many women have it even worse than me or living, for example, in really restrictive governments where they don't have very much protection at all. They don't have the right to do anything. They don't have the right to drive. They don't have to do et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, well, it's a privilege to step away from that because you want to have your soft girl life. And because you want to have your soft girl life and you want to provide a man, you're stepping away from feminism. You think, oh, these other feminists, oh, they're so annoying. See, I love, I'm all for men. Men, I'm gonna say whatever you want me to hear and etc. And all these other crazy feminist girls are so annoying. Oh, they're so this or they're so that, or yeah, so I'm just living my soft girl life. Well, it's hard to live your soft girl life when you've been raped by a man and you're surviving that trauma. And I think that that's one of the things I just want to get across, that like I'm never going to not call myself a feminist because I just can't escape. I mean, that's just my life. I have to navigate the world as a feminist. And I think that I don't like that. I think people are taking a lot of these sorts of little internet memes and stuff or like manipulate him back. That's not my vibe at all. Like all of that sort of, yeah, just take his money, oh, just manipulate him back. That isn't me. And I think that it's really does such a disservice to center that as that is feminism. That's not what the majority of feminism is, like feminists are about, and that's not what feminism is. And it's such a privilege to be able to look at that and say, well, I'm not a feminist, or I'm stepping away from modern day feminism. I'm a modern day feminist. This is modern day feminism. Modern day feminism is fighting back against the sort of women's like the stripping away of rights that we are having, and looking deeper at some of the ways that we've been impacted, our consciousness has been impacted, and that we've been felt like we had to sort of to center our existences around men and their needs and their desires. I've been watching this show called All Her Fault. I'm going to show you guys. I just started it. It's a really good show so far. I really am enjoying it. It's basically about this woman. So her child gets taken by this, I'm not going to give away everything, but she gets taken by this individual. He the little boy, and the whole story of this, like the entire show is basically showing how those dynamics are existing within the household, that the women are doing they have careers, right, and they're taking care of their kids as well. The husbands for the most part are totally checked out, and all they'll do is say, oh, you're amazing, wow, you're such a great mom, but they're not actually doing any of the work. And it's the women that are working and also taking care of the kids, right? And when this entire situation happens, it's all getting placed on them. The blame is placed on them. Well, why didn't you see that this person who has committed the crime, why didn't you see that they were going to do it? Why weren't you watching out for the kid? Why didn't you call the mom and all this stuff? And it's like, well, she's taking care of the kid and her job all day. You won't give up anything for her to be able to do absolutely anything, and all she has to do is basically she's doing all the work in the household and just for some compliments. That's modern day feminism. That's what feminism is about, talking about stuff like that, weaponizing competence. And if people say that, I mean, I think that it's weakness, I would say, on the part of the men, of these men in the system that are pointing fingers and saying you're angry. I am angry, bro. I am angry, and it's right to be angry. And I think that you see in the show so much how women are expected to stuff all those emotions down and be constantly patient and constantly okay with it. And it's like, talk in a gentler tone, be nicer about it. Well, I'm trying my best. You're not trying your best, and you're not trying your best at all. You're not doing what you need to do to support the women in your life. You're not doing what you need to do to support women collectively as a whole. Are you going out and are you fighting for women's rights? Are you being super active in your own social life and calling those phrases out and things like that? And it's just these things that I'm like, you're not doing your best. You're pointing fingers. You're lumping together certain women that you think are representative of what you don't like about feminism, and that's not what feminism is about. And then all these other women, I think we feel ashamed, or we feel we don't want to be like that and stuff, and we want it clear that, oh, we don't hate men. And I don't hate men. I love men. But I think that it gets so frustrating when there's like this mischaracterization. And what is feminism for me? It's this. This is my feminist project right here. This is the how the modern day feminism is talking about the fact that that there's such a gap in, even in medicine. So many women are not listened to at the doctor's office. When people are, they're called whiny women. They're called, you're faking it. You're making it up for attention. And yet we don't have even enough science to even understand anything about women's health at all, while all of this money can be thrown into any kind of male issue. All these different ways. This is modern day feminism, and it really irks me and it really bothers me, I think, to have feminism mischaracterized like that. And it feels like a privilege as well, because there's absolutely no way in my life that I could run away from feminism, because I experienced something that would really change the course of my life, change the way that I navigated the world, to show me just how badly our society treats women, just how much we don't want to understand them, just how badly we will do anything to protect men in collective situations for the most part. And that's what's really frustrating. And it's like, yeah, I've just been reflecting on that, and how frustrating it is when I'm not an angry person or anything. I don't hate men or anything like that, but people start speaking like that and treating it like that. And it's like, well, you're missing out on seeing, I would say, if you want soft girl lives, you're missing out on seeing the soft girl energy, whatever, by creating a situation where, yeah, I am angry now. I am frustrated now. I'm irritated. I'm hurt. I'm in pain. All these different things. I'm feeling ignored. I'm feeling overlooked. And it's like, yeah, like that's gonna be there. I don't know. I was just really thinking about that today. I wanted to talk about another issue in feminism that I've been reflecting on a lot over the course of this project. I would say it's overall not too I don't know. Also, I mean, I'm just gonna say it actually. You know what? Again, people call me angry feminist. Okay. These are just the different, I've been reflecting on feminism a lot this year because I've been working on this project. I've been taking this sort of really intense action, feminist action as well. Right. And I've been thinking a lot about what we center. And I've also been thinking about trans exclusionary radical feminism. Okay. So basically, the idea that trans women aren't women, that it's like, it's all these trans people are hurting feminism, all these trans people are hurting, that I see so many of these people that are quote unquote radical feminists, and the action that they take is to just basically attack trans rights, go after trans women, make trans women out to be predators, or etc. And I've been thinking about how much of a waste of time that is when it comes to women's rights, personally speaking, because I've never, not in 1 million years, in all the times that I've looked through the news, I've barely ever, I've never actually seen a trans person in any kind of situation that is actually causing any kind of intense harm to women. I've never seen that story. I've never seen that story online. I've never seen that story in the news. I've never had I've never had one singular negative interaction with a trans woman. Even one time, actually, I've only had the best interactions and the sweetest interactions with trans women. And it really upsets me because I'm sitting here and I'm like, the negative interactions that I've had consistent interactions with as a child, and this is the stuff those used to say it's man hating, but the negative interactions that I have had have been with cis men. And since I was a child, cis men have catcalled me, harassed me on the street. I had when I was 14, I was walking home from school. I had a guy trying to talk to me, and then he came around with his car, tried to get me to come into his car. He wasn't forcing, but he just pulled around. He's like, "Oh, do you want to get in the car?" All these different things. Um, I've had guys. One time I was in college. This was even after surviving rape. I had a guy walk up behind me, try to kiss my face as I was walking, or sort of made this gesture. He kind of followed behind me. Okay. I've had extensive negative interactions with men. Again, doesn't mean that I hate all men, But that has been the trend, and in the news, I think that we see that's the trend. The governments that we see that are inflicting this type of pain, a lot of times it's a lot of really male heavy governments that are creating these kinds of issues. And again, that's not to say men are the issue, the patriarchy is the issue. But I think it's so upsetting and such a waste because I see so many people spending this extensive amount of time trying to roll back trans rights like that's doing something for women's rights, and it's not. And it's like, think of all the time that you could spend actually doing something that's targeting the actual issue of what's actually hurting women right now, which is the lack of protection, the lack of accountability in the justice system, lack of access to stuff like period products and etc. And it's just like, it really, that's another feminism irritation that I've had, I think, moving through this project and seeing how the world has moved recently, is like, I'm sorry, but that's causing harm. And it's like, there's so many other, there's how, of all of the millions of issues to pick from as a feminist, you're choosing the one that I've seen least sort of having any kind of impact on anything related to women's rights. And personally, hot take, I think that detaching ourselves from the idea that women are all about their uteruses and their wombs is not necessarily a bad thing for women at all. Doesn't mean that we separate that in all the way or something like that. But also, at the same time, I think that women have always, we've been treated as these sorts of birthing objects or these sort of sexual objects and stuff. And I don't personally think it's a bad thing in including trans women to have a conversation about how womanhood is much bigger than just our ability to produce babies. And that's my hot take on that. And I don't think that I've never had a negative interaction nor harmful interaction with a trans woman. I've never even been in a same bathroom with a trans woman. People make it like it's this massive issue, this massive feminist issue. I've never had that issue. I've never even been in the same bathroom as a trans woman in all of my years. So I don't understand, like, why is that the massive issue for feminists, for these feminists that are, they're protect women and I'm so about this and all this stuff. It's like, that's doing zero. No offense, I've not, that's think like you doing that will have zero impact on any sort of I've never at any kind of sort of feminist issue I've had in my life has always been about the patriarchy, and not one time has been about trans people. And not one woman in my life that I know has ever had a negative run-in with a trans person. No, not one singular. I'm friends with many women. I love women. I love hanging out with women. We talk about our lives. Not one of them has had a negative interaction with trans people, and it really upsets me to see that centered as feminism. That's not feminism. That's transphobia. That has nothing to do with protecting women. That has to do with your bigotry. And yeah. Anyways, I just wanted to say that while I was here, because also I've just been doing, like I said, reflecting on feminism, and it's like, oh wow, you poured years of your life into making sure that some definition of womanhood changed, or that trans people aren't allowed to do this and that. It's like, great. Women are still getting raped. Women are still, not getting paid enough. Women are also still, in other countries, not allowed to engage in normal society. Like, oh, amazing. Wow, women's rights are really elevated. Thanks, guys. No, that didn't really do absolutely anything at all. So, yes, hot take. But yes, these are my feminism hot takes. And then we're going to spend the rest of the video going into my project more. Maybe I'll share more of my feminism hot takes. I don't know how this video is going to go. So, yes, but highly recommend All Her Fault. I've really been enjoying it. And it's also made me feel so irritated towards these men in the show. I know they're fake, but they trigger my, like, oh my God, they're so useless. They're so useless. Yes, go watch it. That's what I think is really interesting, is that if you hate trans women or if you hate trans people, that's okay. Like in this dichotomy, like that's normal. But if you just talk about how men are impacting you, if you feel like you don't want to be around them or something because of how you've been impacted, if you want to talk about the misogyny you dealt with, if you want a more equal relationship, you're a man hater. And the reason is because when you sort of create any type of discomfort in individuals in a dynamic that are oppressing others, the whole entire system is basically built to facilitate their comfort. And that goes for pretty much any situation. The system is built to facilitate their comfort. So if you're uncomfortable, or if you're making them uncomfortable, if you're making them question anything about their reality,
anything about their existence, if you're pushing back in some way, if you're taking away from the comfort of their day-to-day, if you're forcing them to grapple with any kind of deeper sort of implication of their existence, you're a hater, you are violent towards them, you are this, you are that. And I find that pretty interesting because, again, I've never had a single negative interaction with trans people, but in this system, if I was to hate trans people, I'd be, well, that's your opinion, but if you have negative emotions towards a man, you're a man hater, all these different things. It's like, I think that's pretty interesting.
Hello, it's later in the day. I'm currently eating this carrot. I'm making congee. Oops, there we go. And I just made tea eggs for the first time. So tomorrow I'll have my very first tea egg I've ever made. But I'm currently working on this paper and we're gonna talk through this part a bit because I need to this is like I don't know, I need to cut stuff down. I was actually in the middle of watching All Her Fault. I'm on episode 5. How many are there? Oh, okay, we're almost done. I know it. I already know it's gonna be the dad, by the way. He's extremely sketchy. I don't know why. I don't know what. I don't know how. I don't know the details. But the dad is the sketchy one for sure right now. The the dad of the kid who got snatched up. So I'm just looking through. Like I said, I narrowed down things. The only thing we kind of have to put together is this. Is this necessary? Is this relevant? And then I'll probably do another round of reading before this is done. But anyways, and then when it comes to the other pieces, I've basically just like moved certain things around about acetylcholine that are gonna impact those pieces as well. All of these different things, I'm gonna double check when I speak to somebody that I can keep these. Please, please, please let these researchers send me their paper. I've been waiting for quite a while now, like maybe a month and a half. And again, they're probably extremely busy. This was a paper from 2015. I don't know if they even work together anymore, but I really want it because, like I said, it's the only one that I've seen where they have a lot of different pieces that I want in it that I haven't seen it all in one neural network in another place, all in one computational model. Get me? So I really want to emulate. Also, they did it on Nest, which is something that I know that I can do. They haven't sent it to me yet. I did reach out to them again, but it's been a few days. I haven't heard anything back yet, but I have faith. I have faith. I think everything happens in a perfect way, because when I started this project, I had my old laptop and I think I didn't understand the full scope of what needed to be done. And I just thought, okay, I did it. I'm gonna have ChatGPT do it. And like I was already sort of trying to jump into Nango too soon before I'd read anything. I was like, oh, let me just jump in and see what it looks like and all this stuff. But Nango was not working. Like Nango, there was some mysterious issue where a button was not, it was gone. Like it wasn't there. And I tried everything. I had extensive amounts of arguing with ChatGPT trying to figure out how do I get the button and it wasn't working. And then my old laptop like basically broke down a little while later and I had to get this one. It's like a refurbished one. It's actually an older one, but Nango worked fine on it. And by the time I'd gotten all that, I'd already read more extensively and I had more of a sense of what I needed to do. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I think I'll get those scripts when it's the right time. Like I do feel like they're coming for me, but there's an optimal time for me to get them, and maybe I needed to narrow these things down first a bit, so that I had more of a sense of what needed to be done. Of course, if I got them, I wouldn't be thinking this roundabout thing. Like I'd just be like, oh yay, but I'm gonna pretend, yeah, because all these things that are here, I hope I can just keep what they already did about the synapses, the neurons, everything. I might have to put more pieces though, more neuron kind of situation. I don't know. We'll see. I've been really stressed recently because this is working, actually. You'd think I'd feel better because it's working, and I thought that too, but I feel stressed because this is working, and it's been a lot to wrap my head around as well. And this has been some of the most difficult kind of work on my entire paper, and yeah, I've been feeling a little bit overwhelmed, and it's just a big life shift, I think. You know what's funny is that doing this paper, I learned that I need to take it slow. Like that's literally everything about I mean, this whole sharp wave ripple situation, I think really demonstrates the importance of good sleep, the importance of taking things slow and getting good relaxation time in when you struggle with PTSD or dissociation. But I have not been taking that advice usually. Well, you know what? I've been trying. My body has been forcing me to take the advice myself, but I'm like, I'm really against it. I'm like, I should be doing more right now. It's like, no, you can't at the moment. I just don't feel emotionally prepared for what, I don't know. My life is crazy, you know? My life doesn't make sense. I mean, it makes sense, but it's also insane. Like, I feel like it's just weird thing after weird thing. And I've been kind of like, okay, what crazy thing is this leading into? Because obviously this is leading to some other insane situation because there's always an insane situation at the other end of this journey of my life. So I'm not mentally prepared for this. Like what's gonna happen next? You know, I feel like there's a catch. There's gotta be some kind of catch to this. Like what's the other crazy thing on the other end? I had a very intense life for some reason. That's what I keep bracing myself for. Maybe it'll be a good thing. I hope it'll be a good thing. But I'm like, is there a catch? What's the catch to this? I'm like pre-tired for myself. Uh-oh. No! I made a dumb mistake, which is I stuck this in here and then I didn't cite. Oh my gosh, never do this. Always cite your paper and your information the entire way through. Now I have to look through all these papers to find where this random line is. Maybe this one? Okay, guys, off we go to check on every single paper in my folder. No. No, actually, genuinely. I know that sounds like I'm joking. I'm not joking. I'm like, what's this? What's this? You know, like what is it? What is the situation? What is this project? What is happening? Where's this going? Because every single thing in my life has gone like what? First time at school. Then I have the most traumatic situation happen. Then it's revealed to me in a shocking manner. I have another like, okay. And then I have this trial. Then the trial goes some type of way. Then all of a sudden, I'm moving to London randomly. Like, what? Now I'm working on this project, and I wasn't a neuroscientist. Now I'm doing neuroscience, straight neuroscience for 8 months. Now it's almost done. Do you get me? There's something on the other end of this. There's a catch. There's something going, you know what I'm saying? Where I'm like, okay, should I be tired? Should I be nervous? Should I be worried? I'm just feeling like I feel like there's some, you know, I'm just suspicious. I'm just highly suspicious right now. That's why I've been stressed. Like this is not, it's never just like a chill thing with my life. It's never just a simple thing. No, it's always some randomly massive and strange thing. So I'm a bit nervous. Okay. Don't let me forget to check on my kanji. Okay. Comment below for me to check my kanji. Just kidding. Okay, let me check on my kanji for real. You know, when I started this, I was a bit jaded. I was like, no. This is another one of those things that I start doing it, I put all my work into it, I care about it, and then it flops again. Okay. I was like, this is highly suspicious. I was like, this is not gonna work out. It's gonna suck, and I'm gonna feel like a flop again. And that's like, I was just in that headspace, right? But I kept going. I was like, not this time. This time you won't trick me, God. This time you will not trick me. This time this will happen. This time this will work. Like, I will make sure of it, right? Now I'm here and I'm really getting nervous because I'm like, this is just highly suspicious. But we'll see. Please let me find this paper. I'm so annoyed. Where is it? No, this isn't good because this is really important information. I put this here in this is my videos have been so helpful recently. Actually, they're the most helpful thing in the world. Highly recommend doing this if you're doing a long project. Do it like just start your own side YouTube or something. You don't have to, you can put them all on private, but this has been so useful for me. Do you see how obsessed I've been with Universal Studios? It's actually an obsession. I want to go so bad. I don't know what's come over me, but literally all I have wanted to do is go there. It's gonna happen after this project. Also, I know this is a bit strange, but I feel like I've been feeling kind of like it was definitely this day, I think. Like my life is kind of beyond my control, but in a way that I feel like I've been trying to sort of embrace that. At the same time, it's a bit scary because I feel like so much of my life has gone in a way that was out of my control or I didn't expect it, I didn't plan it. I feel like that's why I really started to believe in God. No lie. I'm about to get baptized in like
10 days. Anyways, but I feel like that's why I started to really get more spiritual. I was like, none of this is really that as much in my control as I feel like it is, because I would never have selected this path myself, but here I am. Okay, no. We definitely read all this. When did we learn about this? No, it was definitely this night. It was definitely this video. Okay, you know what? Trusting that it's going to be there, I'm going to start interacting with this information just really quick because I actually really want to go back to watching my show and stuff and playing video games. I've been obsessed with my video game recently. It's so good. I think it's okay. I keep calling it My Time at Portia. I think it's Portia. My Time at Portia. Because I heard one of the characters in the show call the city that the other day, Portia. It's so addictive. It's so much fun. And I just remember that I actually was just finished. If you know the game, I just finished a commission and I have to go take it to the person that paid for it. And I was really excited for that. So I'm almost done making the bridge to Amber Island. See if anybody knows the game. I almost finished. And I'm really hyped for that. Okay, anyways. Is this post-stress impairment in hippocampal long-term potentiation? Okay, we're gonna take notes now. With all of these things that we have here are gonna become notes. I'm so done with this though. I'm actually so you can't even begin to comprehend how ready for this to be over I am. This has been so annoying. This is because also me finishing this project is the culmination of it's like the it's like crossing the finish line, the final moment of not only this project but also the entire path I went down with my traumatic experience. I don't know if I believe myself. Other people don't believe me. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I can't figure myself out. I don't know how to go to therapy. It's like done. This is how freaking it works, okay, everybody. I wasn't, so I feel like it's just been the kind of culmination, like the end goal of all of that really awful stress and traumatic sort of experience that I had. It's like everything got funneled into this project, which is why I'm so ready to let it go as well and just be done. I feel like, okay, all of it was for something. I made a contribution to science, like all the stuff, like great job, me. That's what I want. So once I'm done with this project, this is becoming, no, I don't know how to do that yet. I don't have the technology. At some point, I will be using this account to just basically play my time at Portia and stuff like that. That's the plan because, well, I guess I'll keep making science videos. I don't know. Actually, I don't know what this YouTube will be for. This YouTube was really for my project and the story of my project. So I don't know what videos I'll make when this is done really. If we're talking about feminism in that situation too, I think a lot of the stress I've been feeling sometimes, I don't notice it. I feel like it is underlying anger. First of all, like I just want to keep emphasizing that it's not a bad thing to be angry about misogyny or angry about the way that you're treated. That's not I think that we feel as women the need to suppress that, that we shouldn't suppress it. That's awful. I definitely feel the need to suppress it sometimes. And I think that's been actually really emotionally throwing me off. And I didn't notice. It was the anger that accumulated from not only the situation, but also, for example, like feeling like I couldn't be understood, feeling like I couldn't be validated, feeling like I couldn't connect to people or trust people anymore because I couldn't trust anybody to relate to my experience in the way that I needed and stuff like that. That it's just like it builds like in your stomach. I just felt like angry. I was like, I'm angry that I can't even get the right support. I'm angry that I feel like misogyny is stopping people from listening to me and stuff like that. And it builds because it just accumulates. The more you feel like you have to navigate this experience that people don't really have a good grasp on, that I feel like particularly because my trauma was missing this information, I felt so angry because I was angry at like why won't you listen to me? Why won't you listen to me? Why won't you understand me? Why won't you just get over yourself and actually face my experience for what it is, actually put effort into me, put effort into my condition, put effort into my life. And I had to do this whole project by myself. And I feel like so much anger accumulated along the way. As I'm finishing too, I think there was also other anger to feel of like, why wasn't this done? This was actually like not a difficult solution. It was like very there was already a lot of backing for it. Why wasn't this done? Why did nobody I know because I'm doing this as a scientist, but I'm also someone who was impacted by this condition.
why did no one think for more than a second about recovered memory and actually do some deep thinking about what could this look like? Because I had to navigate this experience so painfully, feeling like, okay, who's going to listen to me? Who's going to understand? Nobody. And it's just building up, like just this anger towards the misogyny that was there surrounding this whole issue and stuff, surrounding the dissociative amnesias and things. It's like, you could just listen for a second and just get over yourself and actually listen to the people you're supposed to be working with instead of imposing biases. It's so irritating and it's frustrating. And then also, as I was doing this project on my own and everything, I was like, just so much irritation just surrounding this whole entire thing, actually, because it was like, also, this was I'm so grateful I did it. I feel like it was meant for me. At the same time, it's like this was a massive undertaking for someone who was already mentally struggling. I like, it's hard for me to even communicate the type of struggles that I'm having on a day to day to people around me, because I feel like, because of the way things go, it's like I don't expect people to understand, accommodate, or listen sometimes. And it's like I feel like I can't always communicate how challenging it was to navigate the world as a survivor and the way that my brain worked and everything. Like, to have to navigate the world with these stress chemicals up all the time, feeling like I'm stumbling around, I can't navigate the world as well, feeling like, oh, well, now this trial experience is over, move on with it. And it's like my body is deeply in pain and deeply broken and mentally, you know, in need of repair. And I don't have the tools. I don't have the toolbox. I don't have the medication. I don't have the anything. And now it's like, we'll move on with your life. Or it's like, I'm still sick. I'm still extremely sick and nobody has a cure for this. And to be in that headspace and to have to do all of this science myself, honestly, it was a massive, massive, massive thing for me. It took a lot of, I'm gonna like pat myself on the back. It took a lot of mental strength. It took a lot of determination and everything. To be sick and to find the cure to your own illness was horribly emotionally difficult. And it's like, that's the position that I was put in, because nobody was gonna do this for me and nobody was going to do take this route and nobody was going to explore my condition because of the misogyny that was and the stigma around this particular kind of experience. And that made me feel angry all the way through. Like, I'm sick, like I'm really feeling sick every day and I'm still doing it. Like, why can't you? And that was like, I think that was a really painful experience for me all the way through. Also, because the more I went through and the more I actually had an answer, I was like, I'm not a liar. Like, I wasn't lying about my experience. And I think that sometimes, real talk, as a survivor, I think I was like, there was always that feeling in the back of my mind of like, maybe I am a liar, that I think a lot of survivors feel as well. Or also, like, I feel like that feeling, and also that feeling from other people, and obviously it's meant for us, it's meant to make us turn away from our own experience and not validate it and not really meet it with the level of importance that it needs to be met with. And I was like, I feel like it also, I think it almost softened my, like, the ability, I don't know how to put it, to actually sit with what was done and like, wow, this was violent. Wow, I really experienced a really intense and deep violence in my life, and that's horrifying. And now this person that did it is out and about living their normal life. And here I am sick and nobody cares and nobody wants to listen. I mean, not nobody, but from a societal angle, institutionally, nobody cares. Nobody wants to do anything. Nobody wants to do the science per se. Nobody wants to look into recovered memory. Nobody cares about dissociative. Not nobody cares again, but it wasn't. I feel like it is very stigmatized as well. And that's so incredibly frustrating. So many people that have dissociative disorders also have been through so many intense and painful situations. And I think that that's just really, it's like this anger that built throughout the project. Like, now I'm here and it's like, I try not to curse in my little science videos. They're really on my YouTube, even though I curse in real life, but just to keep them like kind of, a little more professional. They're my little research videos. But like, F you. At the end of the day, like, F everybody, like, F the person who did it. Like, now you're like, you think you can get away with it. F you. Like, you know what I mean? Or like, F a society that doesn't listen. All these different things that I'm here now, and it's like, you did that. And I don't want to look this person in the eye because like I never want to see them again. But it's like, I want to look metaphorically, spiritually, whatever, look them in the eye and be like, I see what you did. You can't get away with it. You thought you would, and you can't, because here I am, and like, this is the truth, and this is what's happening. Like, You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the feeling that, I mean, very raw video oddly today, but that's kind of the feeling of getting here, of being like, F you. Like you really gave me a freaking dissociative disorder. I couldn't navigate what was happening to me, remember what was happening to me. You were letting me go out into the world with this violence without any access to the care and support that I would have needed post that experience in the first place, and continued to harass me and continue to cause violence towards me in this moment because you knew that I couldn't remember, I couldn't navigate the experience. You continued to be violent to me over and over again. Now that you are faced in a justice situation, in a school situation, you have the chance again to say what happened. You know, also you gaslit me. Also, now we're in a school setting and you're here, and you could obviously say, think how much of a difference it would be to say, like, yeah, that did happen, so that I could actually have that inner peace. And you continue to lie again and again. And then all of a sudden, you know, the contradictions are endless, contradicting yourself, lying, contradicting yourself. And we're in a school setting, and you know, this is raw, but this is real, this is my life. Like now we're here and you continuously lie and contradict, and instead of administration actually tearing into it or trying to actually, you know, put some support, they're covering it up and just fluffing it up until so that I can feel crazy again. And I'm not crazy. This is the freaking answer right here. The acetylcholine is going up. It's causing the pattern separation issues. It's causing the sharp wave ripple to not sharp wave ripple. And it's like, here it freaking is, you liar. And there it is, you freaking a-hole school people that can't actually listen to women ever. That's the energy that I'm in at the end of this. Actually, that's the kind of energy that I feel like I've gotten into at this piece, where it's like just wanting to expose as well, and just like the expose not just in my situation, but this is for all people that have been through this kind of abuse. Oh, it's really making me upset right now, but it's like, this is the freaking, like, let's like open up the cases, stop covering this stuff up. This is real stuff. And look at science, look at psychology covering it up again, look at Freud covering it up, look at the freaking fantasy model people covering it up and covering it up and covering up so that we can feel sicker and sicker and sicker. And that's not what psychology is about. It's not what psychology is about at all. It's so painful, and it's just that's been the underlying stress. It's like I haven't been sitting with it, but I was walking today and I was like, you know what? You're angry, aren't you? I was like, yeah, I am angry. I am really angry about this situation. I'm angry I had to do this by myself. I'm angry nobody did it before me. I'm angry that if this was so, every single time you ask people about dissociative disorders, they say, you know, dissociative disorders are very controversial. I got that same statement 3, 4 times, like 5 times, like, yeah, they're controversial because we live in a deeply misogynistic society that won't listen to people navigating a certain experience. And that's why we're here. And that's why I don't have medical treatment. That's why I don't have good access to care for this experience. And also, that's why, you know, people like these universities get away with it. That's why people like my rapist got away with it. Like, that's how it works. That's the reality, right? And it's just been a heavy thing of like, okay, I'm focused, really focused on this project, but once this project is done, like, I have to go back through and be like, oh, so you weren't a liar, so you lived all those years in that intense sort of mental distress, being like, maybe I am a liar, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I made it all up, and etc. And it's like, well, no, you didn't make it up at all. Like, people just don't want to validate your experience because they don't want to dismantle the patriarchy, or they don't want to face sexual abuse in our society and all these different things. Like, that's that's why we're here in the first place. That's why the science wasn't published before. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's just like, it's just also, it's been this so much inner stress and strife of like, this is going well, everything was going badly, now you've got something amazing here. It's going to probably change your life in some way, shape, or form. If you did this in 8 months, that's insane. You also like, I have stuff to sit with now. Like, I feel like once this project is over and once everything is calmed down, it's like, oh, now I have to sit with those times again with that knowing and be like, oh, I'm really still dissociating. I'm still struggling with it. I'm still healing from it. And like, there's just more to heal from. And this was, I feel like this was like also a good cover of like so many of the emotions of being a survivor. It's like, just pour it all into this. And it's like, no, once this is done, I have to actually like go through that process again and really sit with everything again and be like, okay, here we are. And like, this is why we're here. And this is how we got here. And, you know, it's just been a really, really massive time for me in this project. It's been hard to do anything, even work on this. Like it's been like gives me this little pit of anxiety in my stomach of like, okay, I have to, this is really serious work I'm putting in like every day, and it's tiring and stuff, and like on the side of like a lot of my job and like school and everything, and also it's like a massively emotional thing for me. It's like a massively emotional situation and everything. So with that, I'm gonna actually stop. We're gonna stop, even though I didn't really do that much yet. But I'm gonna stop and eat my congee and like process all that. But this is why we need feminism. You know, it's real privilege. If you haven't gone through some kind of really steeped in misogyny situation like this, it's really easy to back away from feminism and to say, oh, it's all about people being consumers now, or we want girls just want to hate men, women just want to manipulate guys, and they just want, all these different things. Like this is what it's for, because I had this experience, and it was painful and it was dark, and like if you haven't been through it, you can't understand how badly feminism is needed every day, always, because every single piece of my experience was deeply steeped in misogyny in every single possible way. The trauma was the trauma of being raped by a man is deeply steeped in with that misogyny. And then having to navigate in a justice setting, the justice system is against you from the get-go. Even universities are not wanting to expose people from the get-go. To be in a college campus, and I have so many stories, to be in a college campus and to watch a certain perpetrator be empowered over and over again within the institution as well, also deeply misogynistic experience, and then to get out and to be so sick and to see that there's nothing for me because of a certain stigma that has existed since the beginning of psychology. Deep misogyny in every single part of being a survivor, every single part of that experience, and it's painful, and it's not, we're not living in an era where feminism is not necessary anymore. If you think that, you are privileged, because even as a woman, if you think that, you are deeply privileged, because until you have gone through a situation like this, you cannot know how deeply misogynistic our society is. It's not about little soft girl life. Girls should be able to do whatever they want. Girls are Barbies. It's about this. It's about real dark and deep stuff as well, that luckily, hopefully, the majority of people don't see. I don't think anybody should see it, but it's there, and it's dark, and it's still, if you're backing away from the fight, it's very selfish, because there's other people that aren't you that are having really deep stuff, and it's not a gender war at all. It's like, it's really serious issue.
Okay. We're back to actual work now. I've been sitting here basically just crunching everything down. You didn't see before, I had them in different sections, and I had a lot of like random stuff. This is random stuff that I haven't incorporated yet, and that is still important. Like this stuff I need to include. Actually, let me do that really quick. But this is still from ChatGPT. I need to actually find the source, but just to have it in and see everything in conjunction. Ah, I've been trying to understand the synaptic tagging stuff so much. I feel like I kind of understood it now that I see it all connected like this a bit, because I feel like, so now I understand that we're gonna like back this and stuff. The arousal goes up, and then what happens is that everything is more likely. I would say probably everything is more likely to have those tags, right? Because this is how it's tagged, is basically, so it basically induces early LTP, so there's a synapse in the hippocampus. So a synapse is like this part of the brain that's communicating to other like brain cells, I don't know, neurons. And basically everything is more likely to induce that kind of LTP, that kind of tag, because the acetylcholine is up. So everything is more sensitive to that tag. To say, like, basically the tag says this is super important, and when you're putting all your stuff in your memory, you should make sure that this gets the proteins, and you should make sure that this goes in first, because you really want to remember this, but the other stuff isn't really as important. So I've been kind of struggling to understand this little synaptic tag thing for a few different videos for like a while. So I feel like I kind of understood it better now. It's tagged as being more important for proteins to go there. So they will, oh my gosh, everything just came to, I'm like, every single piece of this project is now like It's like beep 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 beep. I finally get it. Oh my gosh, that only took like 2, 3 weeks something. I've been really getting it recently. Like it's really been clicking hard how everything works and what my model is actually even doing. I can see it better. Like everything, where everything is going up and et cetera, et cetera. Because I think as I've been putting all the pieces together, just connecting like, oh, this is what's happening and why. Anyway, so I think I kind of understood that a lot better now. It'll be much easier to read and everything. So this is what I have so far. It doesn't have all the kind of technical language that I want it to have, but it's a really big shift. I kind of want to get this junk out of the way, even though I still want to use it. So I'm just going to copy paste it and put it at the end of my paper. There's pieces missing still, important pieces, and I also still have to read about all this so I can actually understand it better and have actual sources to back it up. I make sure everything that I use ChatGPT to learn because like I'm not in a bachelor's program or master's program for neuroscience. So I've mentioned this many times. I wish I was. I would rather learn this in school, but unfortunately, I was not able to get into a neuroscience program. I tried, but it was a long shot. But because of that, I use ChatGPT and YouTube. And I just give myself that pass because I can't learn it in school. So what am I to do? But I do make sure that everything that I write, everything that I learn, I find it in more papers. And actually, the papers that I read have been the bulk of my learning. Like I learned significantly more information because I've read like probably 80 texts by now. And they've been really the thing to teach me the most information, because sometimes ChatGPT is like very simplistic or I get more like a lot of this came from different papers and stuff. When it comes to actually learning the foundation, sometimes it's hard to find a paper without knowing what you're even looking for or having any kind of sense like how does LTP work, stuff like that. So I basically will learn on ChatGPT it's like I use it to fill gaps in my knowledge like okay, what are these things? What is this vocab? And then I'm like off to more papers essentially. And I do like to watch YouTube videos for like other basic stuff. But if it's really, really niche, sometimes it's hard to find a YouTube video like really niche questions about like the synaptic tagging and stuff. Sometimes it's a bit hard to find. I wish I had more free schools or free programs and stuff, because it's kind of hard. Like, I feel like school, the thing about university particularly is that it's so expensive. And it's very hard. Like, for me, I started in comparative literature and societies. By the end, I was catching this little drift of like psychology, neuroscience drift. And I went into psychology as a research assistant, but I was reading, I don't even remember why exactly, but I was really getting into neuroscience a lot. And obviously it's kind of a hard jump to make. And I was like, I don't really know how to make that jump. And that's partly why I did this project because I was like, that'll be a good bridge. Um, I obviously really went into this because of my own lived experience. I did a lot of self-reflection. I had like a lot of lived experience of mental illness, so that really taught me a lot about my own brain and like etc. And I was doing a lot of observing. I started to read some neuroscience books and stuff, but I just couldn't. I mean, obviously no one was going to let me into a program and stuff because I tried, but it's just like on the surface it seems like what are you doing or like what are you talking about? But it's kind of hard because obviously at this point like this is pretty extensive amounts of learning and I probably would have done fine in like I don't know, it's just hard to know and I wish we had more access because I think a lot of people it's like you kind of get into situations that will teach you like I would never have thought when I was younger that I would be good at this or that I would want to go into this at all. It's like then I all of a sudden I was and I was like, "Oh, I don't know how to do this." Like in terms of making the jump between one field and another, So, yeah, there should be more like free programs or at least really really cheap. I don't know if you can do community college for neuroscience. No idea. Anyways, so yeah, it's actually looking pretty nice now. So I still don't know what to do with this. I'm gonna ask my advisor this. I'm definitely not gonna even attempt right now. I might attempt a little. I don't know what I'll do with that yet. Actually, I do need to figure that out in reality. And then none of this I wrote. All of this is still from papers. This is from papers, but I need to I need to basically make it better. And then this also, I still need to put everything together. And then this is just like my junk, like my random like little scraps and stuff. But anyways, I feel like there's something missing. Oh wait, no, it's because I lumped the amygdala and the acetylcholine stuff together. I wish I could call this like arousal team. So I'm trying to figure out what to do from here. I have a few different ways that I could basically organize this whole thing. Like I could hear the different options. I could give like a complete overview basically, and I could say like I'm gonna have X cortex going into X thing. I should probably do that anyways, doing whatever. I think I have that at the top anyways, right? I do already have that kind of at the top where I need to improve it, but this is probably going to get cut or just connect sort of like distributed out. So I probably won't have these two things. But I might still keep them to a certain degree because I need to explain what I'm trying to sort of analyze, and I don't know how to dole that out yet. So I could do it like that, and then I could go into all different pieces. I could keep it like this. I could go next into like memory binding. But this piece might, the other thing that I could do, it's like kind of a lot. Like, what do I do with this? I could go into all of this pattern separation stuff and like also distribute this back out into like rather than doing it piece by piece in terms of where the memory is going. This is kind of confusing. Like, I could also say sort of like I'm going to go into like something like that. Like I could or will be also impacting like for example it's kind of hard to know how to say like how do I distribute this well do I go by what do I go by action like do I then oh now I'm going to talk about all the pattern separation stuff do I talk about like all the pattern separation stuff all the memory binding stuff or do I talk about like chronologically what's happening here first the acetylcholine then it's going in here, then it's going in here, then it's going in here. I don't really know yet. Every time I look at this, I get kind of overwhelmed because I feel like there's still a lot left to do, but it's also I'm covering like kind of a lot of ground at the same time. So it's been useful now that I've gotten to this part. I feel like I've started to actually visualize this as how it's happening biologically, like in the brain, how all of this would be happening really like in an instant, essentially, and then be going back down. Um, so all of this would be happening, just in our brains, like at like an actual chemical is going up, and then the chemical is impacting everything. And it's been really, I've just been visualizing how it works actually recently. It's interesting. I feel like it's a bit hard to describe it, but as I've gone along this project, I feel like I've gotten much better at visualizing things abstractly or having a more of like a stronger image in my head of what's actually what I'm doing in a more complex way. I would say like even for example stuff like I've just gotten better at abstract thinking. All of this stuff I've talked about in the last video with like the recurrent excitation and stuff, I was like, whoa, I actually understood that. Or like all of this stuff with the synaptic tagging where I was like, it's not piecing together and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I can see it like in 3D in my head where I feel like I'm getting better actually at like I guess I'm just getting a deeper understanding as I go along of like what's actually happening and that gives me a stronger sense of my model and like what is this model and what's it doing and like what's just like a more centralized understanding of what my this is probably gonna have to actually like I keep thinking about the title. Everybody like they keep doing a unified model of something. I've seen that in many different places. It's already the 21st of November. I'm kind of freaking out a little bit, but I'm trying to keep it down. I could also call it a unified model. I don't know what a unified model really is. This a unified model? It's kind of a mouthful, my title right now. Everything is just it's a bit hard to kind of organize this because I have two separate documents and they kind of cover similar information. So I guess I'll have to talk about some things twice, like the synaptic tagging and stuff, but maybe in like a lesser way. I don't know. It's just like it's kind of a lot right now. See, this one that I keep reading is a unified dynamic model for learning, replay, and sharp wave ripples. I've seen people say a unified model multiple times. Is mine a unified model of something? Is that like a phrase that people use normally? Or is that just like a certain people thing? I don't want to rip off their stuff. Like they called it a unified model. Now I'm gonna call mine that. Like I don't know. I don't know if I should. But yes, okay, it's actually really cool. Like this is really coming along.
Right. One of my clips actually lost audio, but I just wanted to add this at the end because I thought what I said was kind of important and related to the topic. But I think for people that are stepping away from feminism because they don't like men hating feminists and they want their provider boyfriend who's gonna, they want traditional values, they want this, they want that. No one is saying that you can't have that kind of relationship with a man, first of all. However, I will say that assuming that you're never going to, that feminism is completely irrelevant to you and that you're never going to need it is a privilege as well. And you are assuming that you're going to have that privilege your entire life and you're assuming that nothing will ever happen to you. I've heard of so many women in my life and also online that say that they, even I have like one story that I remember hearing about online about a woman who was a trad wife. She was super steeped in trad wife culture, and then her husband started to be extremely abusive to her, emotionally abusive, and physically abusive. And all of a sudden, she didn't have any kind of skills. She didn't have any kind of like she didn't have a degree of any kind, and it was a real struggle for her to get away with her children. All of a sudden, you're going to need feminism, you're going to need the protections that feminism are fighting for, or people who they think everything is great, their person looks perfect on the surface. Now all of a sudden you get married and the person completely switches up. That happens all the time because people think, okay, now you're trapped, now you're here, I'm going to show my true colors. And all of a sudden that provider husband who's like, yeah, you're just going to live your soft girl life, you're just going to have this. It's like all of a sudden they are dangerous and like you need to get away. You need services for yourself, you need services for your children. You're going to want the services that feminism are fighting for. Or maybe you have an unplanned pregnancy, you need some kind of services for being a single mother, or you have some kind of issue where you have some kind of late term pregnancy. I just saw a recent video, I didn't get to watch the full thing, but basically it was a woman who had voted for a very conservative party in the US, and all of a sudden she was having a freak out on TikTok because she was having pregnancy like issues, health issues, and she was worried she was going to have a like later stage of like end her pregnancy early for health reasons. And now all of a sudden she was freaking out because that's not allowed anymore. And it's like, well, you didn't want feminism and that's what you voted for, unfortunately. And yeah, I think that a lot of times it's like, to back away from feminism, it's like, okay, you have that privilege and then you also assume that you're always going to have that privilege, whereas other people, first of all, like myself, don't have the privilege to be like, well, my life's all fine and dandy, everything seems great on the surface. All these angry feminists that just want to steal older men's money and be baddies or something. It's like, I'm not for it, so I'm going to back away. Well, it's like there's people like me who really need feminism, need it desperately, and I don't have the privilege of being like, I'm not about that. Well, it's so much deeper than just, do we like men or not, first of all. And also, you just never know when you're going to need feminism. I feel like it's a good insurance policy to support feminism if you're a woman, because you never know, maybe you'll have some kind of women's health issue. All of a sudden, oh my god, nobody's listening to me when I go to the doctor. Nobody's fighting for this disease to be understood. Nobody's fighting for my hormonal issue to be understood, and I don't know what to do. It's like, well, now you're going to want the stuff feminism is fighting for, right? You're going to want greater understanding of women's health. You're going to want some kind of protection for yourself, or it sucks to think about. I don't want to scare anybody, but I never thought that this kind of sexual violence would happen in my life. I was, I never in a million years. It wasn't with someone I was in a relationship with, even. It was just somebody who was in my inner circle and everything, like, not to be triggering or anything, but you don't, it's not like, I think a lot of people that are outside of that realm, or not everybody, but it's like, well, it only happens if you're like this or like that. You could go to a bar, someone could spike your drink. It could happen to you. It could happen to anybody. All of a sudden you'll be in the same situation as me, and you're going to want the protections that feminism are fighting for, because I didn't even know how much was missing until I went through that trauma. And then all of a sudden I was like, my life
sucks because there's not feminism enough, and feminism has been like torn down too much to the point that I don't have the things that I need. And I was like, oh, it was really eye-opening for me, even as someone who was a feminist. And I feel like it's just a good insurance policy to support feminism. It's a good insurance policy to support other women as well, because you could always be in that situation. You never know what's going to happen to you, and it's just worth it to support people in their fight to have more rights. Or even in other fights, honestly, we can expand it to stuff like disability rights. You could be disabled in a second. All of a sudden, I was really struggling with dissociation, and all of a sudden I had PTSD. It was hard, it was difficult and stuff. And that I'm still able-bodied in a lot of different ways, but I see that I could get in a car accident today. Pray it doesn't happen, but it could happen. It could happen to anybody, and you're gonna wish, even though, for example, right now it's like, oh, disability rights are for these completely other people that aren't me. I'm able-bodied. It's not really my fight. I don't really care. Where it's like, well, but you could be disabled, and you could have some kind of disability later on down the line. Even when you're an old person, most old people have some kind of disability of some form, and you're going to be old and you're going to be like, man, I wish there was a little bit more information on what I had to do. I wish there was more sort of accessibility for me. I can't get up the stairs and there's no one to like help me when I'm on the train, or stuff like that. It's like you're going to want that. And I just feel like it's a good insurance policy. It's not a good insurance policy to turn away from the struggles that other people are having, because you never know when you could be there, and you never know what that provider boyfriend's going to be like under the surface after some kind of difficult situation. You never know when maybe you're going to be like, hey, we just fell out of love and I really want some kind of divorce. Now I don't have any kind of life experience. I don't have like support in that sense, and etc. You just really never know. And I just don't think it's a good insurance policy at all to ever hinder what feminism is about, or what feminism is attempting. Even if you don't feel like you need it, you're like, well, I have a good job, I'm a stay-at-home mom, my partner's fine, he's a nice person, whatever. It's like, yeah, but you just really never know down the line. There can always be a bump down the road. And I think it's just not a good idea to assume that, well, life is perfect for me, I don't need it. And these people on TikTok suck. Well, it's like, that's TikTok. That's not really what I think it's kind of funny, or like not really that it's not really that accurate to take what random teenagers are saying online about how they're trying to like get on a yacht with an older man and be like, that's what feminism is now. It's like, no, that's what TikTok is. That's what TikTok trends are. That's like girl boss, TikTok trending feminism stuff, and that's not feminism at all. No offense to the people who say that stuff, but for example, myself, I would call myself a feminist. I would never, you would not catch me in a million years on a yacht with like a 95-year-old trying to take their retirement fund. I want to be with someone I'm attracted to, because I'm a feminist, and that means centering my own desire, my own pleasure. It also means centering the fact that I want to make my own money. I have a career I obviously want to be in, which is a neuroscientist and stuff, and I don't want to be at home and stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I just think it's just like, also just, yeah, maybe you don't need it, and like maybe you're not going to be a career person, but it's like, I obviously really want to be a career person. And it's like, it's not all about you, and it's not all about the stuff that you're interested in. It's about all women, and like giving all women a choice. And just because you don't need it or you don't want it doesn't mean that like I don't need it and I don't want it. And it's like, doesn't mean you have to be like the world's biggest activist. But I think to like this on feminism in a time like this, or to be like feminism is like this, it's like, get off TikTok and go read a book about feminism. Get off TikTok and go see what people are protesting about on the street. Read about feminism also that's not white feminism. Go read about feminism, about the women of color are in desperate need of feminism of all kinds, because they have been consistently trampled on. And also go read about feminism within exactly disability rights spaces. That's a very also different kind of feminism. A lot of women, have needs there. Also read about feminism in other countries. It's not just about like middle class white teenagers on TikTok. It's about all women across the world. And it's like, that's not, I don't think that there's, people struggling through like really oppressive regimes and like, I don't know where, like middle of nowhere, like African countries or something. Like they're not sitting there being like, I want to be on a yacht with an older man and I hate men. They're like, we desperately need resources, and we're struggling with like genital mutilation and really severe and serious stuff like that. It's not just about your inner circle, but it's also about people outside of that circle. So I think it's just really privileged. It's just incredibly privileged to be like, I'm gonna step away from feminism because it's all what I see on TikTok. And it's like, get off TikTok and go read a book. So, anyways, okay, so off to the last clip. All right, I decided to end there. Usually I would do more work in my videos, but I feel like recently they've been coming out more like video essays, and I've just let them be that and have just been doing my actual work on this paper kind of on the side. I've had some other clips and things of me actually doing work and making the connections and stuff, but it got kind of lengthy, and yeah, I just wanted to keep the video like this, I guess, and it was very cathartic little spiel. But anyways, yeah. All right, I guess I'll see you in the next video. These have been kind of a mixed bag recently, so who knows what the next video will bring. Goodbye.